Hope you're all having a super fantastic, sparkling day. Welcome to Porchlight Letters podcast number 2352. Is AI content ethical? That's a really good question. We're going to explore that in a moment. But first, on the settling inside, we have, let's see, this morning we got up early at 8:29 this morning. I'm sitting here and I just started having this gentle rock. And I'm like sitting here going, well, I'm not rocking. And it was blowing really hard outside at the time too, not gale force winds, but it was pretty strong, a gust of wind that came through at the time. And I'm like thinking, my first thought was the wind is rocking the house, but then I thought, no, this is an earthquake. Awesome. People go, why do I want to go to New Zealand where there's all these earthquakes and everything? I will tell you this, I am so used to earthquakes. Oh, good. Mum and Dad made it home safely. Hang on, I just got to do a thumbs up for that one, because she doesn't realize I'm doing my podcast right now. If I don't reply soon, she'll get worried. Okay, they made it home safely and they didn't get rained on, so that's good. And I'll explain that in a second. And just doing this general, and it took a few seconds before I finally realized we're actually having an earthquake. So I got on GeoNet, which it records all the earthquakes and things, and sure enough, there was one. It was, I wrote it down, and it's in my diary that's underneath my laptop. But it was 10 kilometers southwest of Waverley, which is this little town in the southern end of Taranaki. And it was 104 kilometers deep, and it was a 5.4 on the Richter scale of magnitude. So it wasn't a very big earthquake, but I would tell you, this was just a very gentle, you just felt like you're being gently rocked. And I will tell you, I've been through some frightening earthquakes, and I've been through some really cool earthquakes. This was a cool one because it was I'm just sitting here and just like gently rocking. And I thought, this feels really cool. It went on for a little bit, and when I last checked in the hour afterwards, there was 9 other earthquakes that were recorded in different areas of New Zealand, but on the same fault line, which was kind of interesting. And people don't realize how many earthquakes actually are every day. And you can go on GeoNet site, and for New Zealand it's geonet.something.co.nz. And it will show you all the earthquakes that are, and now it will show you like the ones that are considered weak and upwards. You can then go to light and upwards, you can go to moderate and upwards, you can go to severe. I think there's another one in there. Severe is the highest one. And it will show you anything that's happened in the last 365 days. But they have a whole bunch that is hidden, and you can actually look at the whole bunch that's hidden. And most of them are anywhere from 1.8 to 4.5 was the biggest one I saw on that list that had happened within the last year. And I'm looking at them and I'm like, well, how do they decide what's light and what's not? And I think it might have to do with the depth of the earthquake. But there was a little button there that was up there when I went to check, and it said, did you feel this? And I clicked it and it didn't do anything. And I'm like, well, that's useless. But it probably did record it. But it just didn't do anything or say that you have been recorded or whatever. So because it was zoned in on your location and that you felt it in that location. So that was pretty cool. Had a very quietish day on the chat. Interesting questions coming up. Like I actually got, and I don't have it here, I got my birthday card from my friend Kathy, who lives in Toronto. Now, she sent it out through the Mailbox Power System, which is based in Utah. They sent it to the US Postal Service on December 1st, and the postmark on it said December 6th, and it got to me at the end of the month. It was just before I moved into this place. And so I thought, well, that's really weird that I found out today why it was sent. The system said it was sent on the 1st and it wasn't postmarked till the 6th. The US Postal Service, this is a public service announcement, the US Postal Service has announced that they've got a new policy with postmarks, in that you don't get postmarked on the day the post office receives your mail to be sent, like they used to. It now the postmark is now stamped with the day the letter is processed. So there could be a delay between those two dates. And they were specifically looking at, and the news reports were specifically looking at ballots and tax returns and other stuff that has to be in by certain dates. You have until, they said, that has to be, they used to say it has to be postmarked with this date in order for it to be counted or to be valid. That's gone out the window now, because the postmark is now the date the post office processes it, not the date they receive it. But you can still have a date received postmark put on there, but you've got to go to the post office and ask them to manually stamp it. I'm like, okay. So that was sort of like a very interesting thing. So if you have things that are date driven that have to be in by a certain date, allow a few extra days for the processing to take place, because apparently it's going to have some impact on the delivery of the mail as well. Anyway, end of public service announcement. So just before I finished work, I got a call from my mum to say, we've got mail here for you. I'm like, okay, lovely. I said, I'm thinking I'll get it when I'm next over there, or they next come over. And so they said, we're going to hop on our bikes and bike on over. And I went, okay. So they biked on over here, and they were here they got here around 1:30ish, I think. They stayed for a bit, and they were here beyond 2:30 because I heard my alarm go off. My reminder thing didn't go off to say that I have my podcast coming up. And they left just before 3:00, and they're already home. Yeah, it doesn't take that long to bike between the two places, and they're on e-bikes as well. But they found the way that doesn't have any hills bits to go. Yes, they left just before my 10-minute alarm went off. I was like, oh my gosh. So yes, it's been a semi-busy day here today. Still no news on where my container is. It is somewhere in New Zealand. That's much I know. I don't know if it's still at the Port of Tauranga or if it's been moved down to Wellington. I don't know. The tracking kind of stopped when the ship came into dock on the January the 1st. So it may still be in Tauranga as far as I know. What else is supposed to be happening? Oh yeah, we're supposed to be getting my bins delivered today. They still haven't shown up yet, but they'll get here when they get here. So now we're going to talk about, is AI content ethical? Oh, this is a very good question. Ethics do not just appear when AI enters the room. It's as simple as that. The ethical AI depends on intent and transparency. How transparent are you? Are you trying to hide the fact that this was actually written by, I didn't have any input in this was actually written by AI? No, be on it, be open and transparent about that. If you were AI assisted, now there's a difference between AI doing it and AI assisted. My definition is if you have AI do it, they do the whole thing. You basically give them the idea, they do the whole thing, and you have some input into it. AI assisted is you have the main idea, you do the main writing, and it assists you with the editing and the proofing. So you've got the two different things that you can have AI do the whole thing. Like my song that came out, The Best Me I Can Be, that I wrote in September of 2023. I don't remember what year I'm in. No, hang on, 2024. Yeah, 2024, September 2024, I wrote that song. I had the lyrics. I had no way to produce it. And I had some people who recommended things. Those went by the wayside. It wasn't till June or July last year when I had heard about Suno, which is Suno, SUNO, that can do the composition of the music and the singers. And I thought, well, let's give this a go. But one of the things that I made sure I did first is read the terms and conditions and found out, yes, they have a free version, but if you publish under the free version, you have no rights to your song. You sign away the rights to your song. If you publish under a paid version, which was like $10 a month, you get to keep the rights to your song if you publish it under the paid version. So I went in there and started playing around, and it came up, it composed the music, it gave me singers. I then went in and made these, I actually ended up with 8 versions of the song, then under 2 that I really liked, which are the 2 that we ended up promoting and releasing. Then I went to AI and I said to them, okay, I need somebody, here's the song. I need an image that looks like the person who sung it. And so we went backwards and forwards, and I described the person that I kind of had in my head, and they came up with, and we made a couple of tweaks on the picture, and then it was like looking for the name. And so I wanted something that was New Zealand-like and something that talked to my heritage. And so Tui, we came up with the name Tui because that's one of my favorite New Zealand native birds. In fact, I get woken up by them at 4:00 every morning. Although yesterday I didn't wake up till 4:30. That's okay. This morning I was awake before they were. And then my favorite New Zealand bird. And Ross is one of my ancestor last names. I descend from the Ross clan in Scotland. So that's where Tui Ross got her name from. Then I had to create a male for the male version of the song. And so we went backwards and forwards with a couple of ideas. I had some very specific things that I wanted this guy to have. And it was like, what are we going to have as the name? So this time I thought, okay, I've taken something from my mum's side of the family. And let's go over my dad's side of the family and see what we have back there. So my 3rd great grandmother, her last name was Brody. And I thought, oh, I kind of like that. She married Elizabeth Brody. She married Samuel Gordon. Samuel Gordon's mother's last name was Carmichael. So that's my fourth great grandmother's last name was Carmichael. And that's how we came up with Brody Carmichael. So a lot of Celtic heritage. So we ended up calling and then we brainstormed some names and we came up with Celtic Fern Studios, which is a nod to my roots. I'm Celtic with my Scottish, Irish, Welsh, Cornish heritage. That's where the Celtic comes from. And then the fern is referring to the New Zealand silver fern, which is one of our national symbols we have here in New Zealand. So we've got Celtic Fern Studios. That's how we came up with that. So there was some AI assisted in there, and then there was some total AI creation. So the song was 100% written by me. The AI did the music and the voice and the vocals. And did the music and the vocals. Came out really, really good. Was I transparent about that? Absolutely. Absolutely. And then I was transparent about how I generated the people. I did have input on what I wanted the people to kind of look like. And we went some backwards and forwards and had to do some tweaking here and there. But the names, I went to my roots, and that's where the names came from. So there was some AI assist and there was some AI creation, which was pretty cool. So as long as you're transparent, I mean, even when you do books and you want to sell them on Amazon will ask you if it is AI created content or is it AI assisted. And if you say it's AI assisted, they want to know how much, did they just help you with the editing and the proofing? And every time I go, yes. So that's how you do that. So being transparent. Creator can remain accountable for content accuracy. So because you are the creator, even though if AI created it for you, you're still, and you're putting it out there, you are still responsible, accountable for the content accuracy, which is why we keep saying you've got to read what it says. You've got to read what it says. Check, fact check, and everything else. Original thinking still matters. And this is why, because AI wouldn't come up with the concept unless you gave it to them. It doesn't just sit there and just start spitting stuff out. You've actually got to get in there, put a prompt in there for them to give you content. So original thinking still matters on that. AI should not be used to mislead or exaggerate expertise. There's times when it's come up with, like when we're doing my LinkedIn profile, it was coming up with stuff and I'm like, yeah, I have experience in that, but not as much as you're implying. And so we need to tone this one back a little bit. We need to tone this one back a bit. So when it was coming up with I had given it access to my AI profile, my LinkedIn profile, so it could read it. And then it was taking all the information there and turning it into something very short, very succinct, very engaging. And I kind of looked at some of what it had written. I'm like, I'm not comfortable with stating this particular fact because to me, I am not that expert at that than in the capacity that it is implying. So yeah, there was a lot of tweaking and turning. There was a lot of tweaking in on that one. So don't because it comes up with this wonderful profile. Check it, and if you're not comfortable with what it says, have it change it. It's not a problem. Responsibility is not like they're going to send you a bill to say, well, you made this change, we're going to charge you $2,500 or whatever. It's not going to happen. You just go in there and ask it to change it. In fact, I had a idea in mind for a card and I needed an image created. So I described what I wanted in the image and it came back with that. And then we had to make some tweaks because it didn't fit the format correctly, even though I'd given it the pixel sizes. And so we went some toing and froing and finally got that done. And then I went in and says, I need some ideas for the inside of this card because I'm a little stuck. My brain was not firing in the right direction today to do this. And so it came up with some short phrases and one really stuck out. I said, yeah, I really like this one. Now, and it was suggesting fonts to go with the rest of the card. And I said, yeah, no. I said, how about this font or this font? And it came back and said, yes, these fonts will work. And this is why they will work. And this is the sayings that they would work best with. Did I listen to that? I took the font I wanted to do, which was one of the ones I said that I was going to use. But as far as when it turned and said these would be the best sayings out of the ones that I'd come up with that would work well with this font, I totally ignored that piece and went and got a saying that I liked, that spoke to me, and put it on the card. Responsibility increases with an automation. So the more you automate, the more your responsibility is going to land on your shoulders. Because if something goes wrong with that automation, you're the one that's responsible for it. Again, that's fact checking. That's making sure that everything is accurate, that you are comfortable. When you put stuff out there, are you comfortable to put your name on it? Is it okay? If it doesn't feel comfortable, change it. It's as simple as that. And this matters because trust is built through honesty and consistency. So, it doesn't matter if AI helps you write a newsletter. If somebody asks you, don't, be honest about it. Yes, AI assists me with writing that thing. They may do some of the like I might turn around and give it some ideas and it comes up with the words and sort of like, because sometimes my brain just is sort of like on another planet. And other times I am pretty much on point and I put it in there and then I get AI to proof it. And sometimes I will tell it, can you please proofread this? Looking for grammar errors, for spelling errors, for punctuation errors, looking for the whole thing. I need a full proofread on this, but I don't want any word changed yet because I want to go through, and I just want you to list out where the issues are so I can go in and have a look. And then I'll go in and have a look and see if I agree or disagree with their changes. And some tweaks I might make, but it may not be the tweak that they suggested because I might find something that I feel more comfortable with. Or when I read through it, I'm sort of like, yeah, that wording doesn't work for me. And so I will switch the wording around or change it out completely. So AI assists me in a lot of things. It even assists me with my podcast notes. I said, this is the topic I'm talking on, and it comes up with the talking points and everything else. And I'll turn around and make some adjustments on what I think needs to be done. So the practical takeaway for today is ask whether the content reflects your values and expertise before publishing. Always read through whatever content you're putting out there, always read it through. Is it in your voice? Does it represent who you are? Does it represent you as the expert that you are and not over-exaggerate the type of expertise that you have? And if you want help aligning AI use with your values, send us a private message and we'll be happy to assist you with that. And that's another one that we did. So I created a GPT in ChatGPT, and a GPT is something that you can go to and everything is done in that body of expertise and stuff. So I have this one set up that they are the ultra luxury private customized travel. And I will tell you this, I did some wackadoodle stuff in this thing. Like I said that I put a whole bunch of travel experts that I know. Some of them are on TV, some of them written books, that sort of stuff, and threw that into that mix. And then it came out this GPT. And so then we were like, these trips were amazing. We were doing these amazing trips. I said, okay, let's do it. Let's plan a trip to like the Greek Isles. And so we planned this trip for mum and dad. We're going to go over there for a little bit. The kids and their families, the kids and the grandkids were going to come over at some point. This is how much time the parents were going to be there for. This is how much time the kids and the grandkids were going to be there. And then the parents got to tie it off at the end. But what we had happening in the meantime, is that we had them having these private tours around Greece and the Greek Isles that took them to famous landmarks like the Colosseum, not the Colosseum, the one up on the hill. The one in Greece where the Olympics were. Jeepers, it begins with P. Anyway, it took them to different places, different historical places, and not well-known historical places as well. It was a private tour, so whenever they went to these places that are usually swamped with people, they went at times where there was nobody there. They were the only people there. And following them around, we had a videographer and a photographer and a journalist. Now, the journalist wasn't a journalist as in a reporter, but kind of. The journalist would sit there in the evenings. Think of a reality show where the people go and sit down one-on-one in front of the camera and give their thoughts and ideas about things that were happening and that sort of stuff. They would give their own video journal on their experiences that day and everything that was happening. And they'll be videotaping while they're out and experience this thing. And sometimes they might do a quick thing. Oh, look, I've got to tell you about this, blah, 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 blah. And so they're doing these video vlogs, and they're also doing the photography as well. And the journalist is somebody who is journaling the travel for them and taking those transcripts and pulling out notes, because at the end of all of that, and this is this ultra luxury thing. And so then they would come back and they would have and part of the package was we would organize this big party for them to welcome everybody back and to show their videos and stuff. And they had this journalist who would sit there with the videographer and the photographer and their own notes, and they would create this entire story around an entire, like a movie around this family's journey, visiting Greece and the Greek Isles. And AI planned that entire thing. They would come back and ask me yes or no questions. Do you prefer this? Do you prefer that? And I go, oh, let's go ahead with and do this. So this party would be a big reveal when they got back, and everybody would sit down, and it would be all catered and everything else. They'd all sit down and they would watch this movie for it would go about an hour to an hour and a half, depending on how much content they had. And the videographer and the journalist and the photographer had put it all together to tell the story. So in some places there's movie bits and them being interviewed and things like that, and some of the things that happened, and they're talking about their experiences. And so the journalist basically wrote the script for this, wrote the script from everything that had been done. And so I thought, this is so cool. I wonder if anybody would actually be interested in this. And I said to ChatGPT, I said, what would you pay? What would somebody pay for this? And it came back and gave me some number, and I went off and did this little research. And I said, research what somebody would actually pay to do this. And then it comes back and says, would you like me to go and book the hotels? I'm like, no. Book the flights. No, the flights were going to be done on private airlines, private charter jets. And they had private charter yachts for the family to go on for around the islands and things. And it was just a really cool experience. And AI basically planned the entire thing. I just said, we've got this family. This is how many family members there are. This is what we want to happen, blah, 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 blah. And so then it would come up with these suggestions and ideas and ask questions and all of that sort of thing. And we came up with this elaborate plan. So I thought, what if this family wanted to go on safari? And then I changed tactics on it. When it wanted to book hotels and stuff, I said, no, we're not booking anything right now. We're just planning. And I said, what would happen if this family wanted to do a safari in Africa? And so AI just goes, and up comes this whole thing. So I had to scroll back to the beginning and read everything. And then, of course, I had the questions at the end. Would you like them to do this? Would you like them to do that? Giving the things. And I tell you, it was just such a spectacular itineraries and things. And it was a lot of fun to play around with. So that was one where AI basically had control of the idea. We gave it the idea. It blew the idea up. And then we went in and did the tweaking and everything else. But it would ask us questions along the way. Do you want to do this activity or this activity? Is there a way we could do both? Throw a spanner in the works. Absolutely, Helen, we can do both of these. Blah, 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 blah. And then there was sort of like, would you like a videographer on this? Would you like a journalist on this? And so it was really cool to bring those pieces together. And then, of course, we had the pre-party when everybody was getting the Bon Voyage party. And then when they came home, they had the welcome home party. And at the welcome home party, they had this movie that they could play that was all about their trip. And everybody got a copy of the movie that went on the trip, got a copy of the movie along with a book. And this book had the photographs in there as well. And they had QR codes that were taken to the YouTube channel where all of the videos, all the raw footage and they could see the raw footage of the videos, or they could see the edited version of the videos, or both. But all the videos were uploaded to a private YouTube channel, and they had access to it through the QR codes that were in throughout this book. And the journalist had written all the script in there about their experiences and things, and they could go in there and scan the QR code, and boom, it would take them off to that particular video. Or there was one at the beginning where they could go click on it and it would take them to the whole album of videos. It was really cool how it was all sorted out. And again, I asked it how much people would be willing to pay for that. So the ideas are out there. How you choose to use AI, remember, does it align with your ethics? That's the question. Are you staying integral? Are you staying in integrity? Are you staying ethical with it? It's all down to you. If it over-exaggerates something or it puts something in there that's not true, let it know. It won't learn unless you tell it. So in closing tonight, AI does not remove responsibility. It concentrates it. So the more you have it outputting, the more you're responsible for. The more you are publishing using AI content, the more you're responsible for. So just keep that in mind, that it does not remove the responsibility. It concentrates it. And with that, we are out of here. Go out, have a super fantastic, sparkling evening, and we'll catch you guys back here tomorrow evening.